You are listening to
The Free Amigos.
Hey, I'm Casper.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Tony.
Welcome everybody to episode 7 of series 2 of the Free Amigos podcast. And here we are back in lockdown in the UK. And my hair's getting a bit out of control. How's yours, Tony?
Wow. I don't know whether I've got some sort of hairdressing gods who look down on me, but the week before both lockdowns, I've had a haircut arranged.
Yes, I had the same thing.
So I've literally got a haircut in like days before like this lockdown and the previous one last March. So I've been okay actually. It's not that my hair, I seem to lose more than I grow these days anyway. So there's the least of my worries.
Yeah, I'll take for granted that I've still got hair.
Yeah, exactly. Hold on to
someone else who's got no problem with growing hair is Casper, over in Lombok in Indonesia, just talking about your impressive moustache and beard.
You are not follically challenged, are you, Cass?
I'm just growing as much as I can at the moment for when it falls out.
Yeah, exactly. Keep hold of it. Keep going, mate. Keep going.
And even like I was thinking about this, like I don't even know where the barber is. The only thing what I see sometimes, you got like a roadside barber shop, which is like a wooden shack and a guy with scissors. And I don't really fancy going there, so I just let it grow. Let it grow, let it grow.
Let it grow.
The song in there. That's how it's going. Well, today we've got another great guest, Amanda Newbery, who I guess we've known for, what would it be, about a year maybe? I don't know if it's been a year for all of us.
Yeah,
but
about that.
yeah, within the same, obviously, entrepreneurial program that we're in, but we'll find out a bit more about Amanda now. But you're in the UK as well, aren't you, Amanda?
I'm in Staffordshire.
Staffordshire. You had a bit of snow, didn't you? I saw some of your photos.
Had like a week and a half of snow. It was fantastic. It was really good.
Yeah, I know Tony had a bit, but we've missed out here, which is a shame.
Yeah, we too here.
Yeah, in the tropics.
Surprise.
We missed out on that in this tropical beach.
That's one thing you'll never get over there, is it? But yeah, I know your focus is on helping mums now, isn't it, Amanda? But I do want to go also into, if you're happy, to talking about mental health, because it's something that we've all talked about on various pods, and I think everybody struggles with, you know, in this day and age, and you know, just ways that people can manage it, and ways that I know you've kind of, you know, had your own issues and come out of it. So I'd love to talk more around that. But first of all, let's go a bit more into your background, because I know, you know, reading more about your story, is it fair to say it was kind of sparked by your year of traveling? I know you did 8 years in Australia, but was your whole kind of mission for freedom, more freedom, sparked by your traveling experiences?
Yeah, 100% actually. I actually went to uni and I had a random degree because I knew after school I wasn't ready to work and I wanted to do some sort of degree, but I had no idea what. So I did a random planning and environmental policy degree, which you can't get a job with, I found out afterwards. So I went off traveling. My plan was to kind of travel for 1 year, and that was it. It'd be done out of my system. But I ended up traveling for 18 months with my partner, who's my husband now. And then when we came back for that, we just could not stop. We just traveled. We'd work for a bit and save up and then go traveling again. And we did that for sort of several years. And it just really sparked in me that I just wanted to live a really free life forever, to be honest, at that time. But then when we got to the point where we thought we need to maybe settle a little bit more, we came back to the UK and we just could not settle. We tried 2 years here and we just couldn't settle with the weather and lifestyle again. So we decided, let's go and live in Australia, see if that works out. And AD was really lucky because of the work he does. We managed to get residency super easy. So we headed over there and just totally fell in love with Sydney. I lived there for about 7.5 years and I loved Australia. It was just the perfect place for us. Loved the lifestyle and the weather, and we could still travel a lot around Asia. So it was really, really good. And then we moved up to Byron Bay for a year, which is my absolute spiritual home where I want to head back to eventually. But then after about a year, I was pregnant with sort of my second child, and we were happy in Australia, but it was just starting to get really difficult being so far away from home, like flying back and forward all the time. And I had a few family issues started to come up. So we thought, we'll head back to England and see how we get on. But yeah, it's all kind of went a little bit downhill for a while for me there. Unfortunately, that's when my troubles started, to be honest. Yeah, but that's the story up to the point when I had my second child, and that's when my mental health really took a dive massively. I've had mental health struggles I've realized now pretty much my whole life, to be honest, anxiety since childhood. I think I didn't know that until quite recently, but it was on moving back to the UK. It was when it all sort of went very downhill, unfortunately, for me. That answers your question. But yes, it did spark my passion for just freedom and living differently and just not living in the box. That's all I've really wanted to do, to be honest.
Well, I know we've all talked about travel in the past. I mean, obviously Casper is always traveling.
Full-time
He doesn't
traveller.
stop. He is the full-time traveller, yeah. And
For the same reason, basically. I'm also balancing that same thing, and we talked about that before, like balancing that traveling with settling. It's a really strange thing, and of course now with the whole lockdown, settling became easy because you're on lockdown, so you have to settle.
Yes.
But I'm
Yeah,
still
your hands
really
forced.
struggling with that. Yeah, it's still struggling with that, the Groundhog Day feelings and all that. Yeah.
yeah, because you want to keep moving.
I think it's really hard though when you've traveled a lot and lived in other places. I've got a lot of friends who are the same, and you never can quite settle, I think, in one place. Like when you were traveling, I was super happy to be traveling, but then you crave a little bit of stability and routine. And then when you've got the stability and routine, you're like, oh, I just need to go somewhere now. I need some adventure. And even like with Australia over there, I loved the life, but you're always thinking, oh, I'm missing out on so much at home. So your heart's a little bit here. And then you move back to England and I'm like, yeah, I'm not so sure I want to live in the dark for 9 months of the year. I really miss the sun. You just always kind of like funny head. It's really hard. I don't know if that will ever change, to be honest. I've got friends who are in their 60s and 70s and they're still the same. So we'll see.
Yeah, but that's the good thing about the lockdown. It's like now you're forced to kind of settle. And I just had a chat with my mom this morning, basically. And I was like, wait a second, maybe I should just plan on staying here, right? Just plan on settling. Although I'll get like really a feeling of unrest. But maybe if I just say, okay, this is what I'm going to do this year, maybe that will soothe my inner I need to go and I want to explore, and I will start to enjoy life here better. Good.
Accept it. Accept your situation for what it is at the moment.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know yet, but because now I'm basically living day by day, and maybe if I put something on the horizon, I can accept it better. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I've been reading a book recently.
Oh, really good.
Yeah, I know, I can read. It's amazing. It's been one of my new lockdown skills. I've learned to read. It's called The Fear Bubble by Ant Middleton.
Yeah.
I think he talks about there is dealing with negative emotions. He uses his 3-step process where you just basically, it's quite simple. He doesn't overcomplicate it. It's just a case of acknowledging it, processing it, and then moving on.
Mm-hmm.
If you can do that with any sort of negative or emotions that cause you anxiety or stress, if you can just process that emotion in those 3 simple steps, he says it does wonder for your mental health, that you can just accept it, wrap it up, move it on, and then you carry on with the rest of your life. You don't keep sort of holding on to that emotion and all the time, because it can consume you, can't it, if you just can't move past anything like that.
Got to feel it.
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly the thought I had this morning. Yeah, just go like, okay, accept it, put something on the horizon here, and then because of course the steps I have to take then are completely different.
Your mindset's different, isn't it? Straight away.
Yeah, well, also like your to-do list changes, because then suddenly, okay, I need to make sure that I've got a visa if I want to stay here, right? So how am I going to do that? So suddenly everything changes.
Yeah, it's interesting. The whole lockdown thing, isn't it? It's I think there's various theories about it, but you can go deeper into what's going on and this whole idea of this change of consciousness on the planet. But I think it's really interesting the way it has almost been designed, if you want to put it like that, to make us stop, go inside and have to confront the stuff that's going on inside. Like for many people, it would be, we've got all kinds of ways of avoiding doing that in our lives, whether it is, food or exercise or traveling. There's so many ways that we can just avoid that stuff and just keep ourselves busy and occupied by the outside world. But that's been the fascinating thing about this last year, is it has just made us everybody go inside, isn't it?
Yeah. Literally and emotionally and everything.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
In every sense of that phrase.
Yeah. And so that's why it's been so tough for people, I think. But I mean, if that's kind of natural for you anyway, I mean, I've been doing that for a long time, with the meditation. But I think people who haven't been doing that and aren't open to doing that, then it's been tough. I think if you're not open to change, you're not open to to looking inside, then this would have been a really tough year.
And listen to the demons in your head or the voices in your head, right? If you're not used to that.
Exactly,
I'm sure
to face that stuff.
it's like you go on Google Trends, can't you? Look at keywords and stuff like that. I'm sure mindfulness in the last 12 months has been Googled at a massive upwards trend. I haven't looked at it. I couldn't tell you exactly, but I hazard to guess that keyword has been searched a lot in the last 12 months. For sure.
I was having a look at this morning, Tony, at my blog posts at which ones have been doing the best, and it's all anything to do with mindfulness for mums.
There you go.
Mindfulness is how you start meditating when you don't know how to meditate in 10 minutes. Anything I've done around mindfulness for mums, they're the ones that I'm getting.
Even like we've all got Netflix accounts and whatever, and I get emails from that. I've even noticed now that Headspace are doing a meditation series on Netflix.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
So I started with Headspace.
Yes, same here. And that will open up mindfulness to a lot of new audience around.
Absolutely.
So that shows you they're obviously listening to their customers. It's obviously a more prevalent need in people's lives at the moment. So we're all stuck at home. Why not help the situation as much as you can?
Love it.
I think it's great, to be honest.
Absolutely.
The more exposure people get to mindfulness, the better in any form of media.
But that's also what you said, Mark. It's like it is. We are in a global awakening at the moment. We've been in a global awakening for a couple of years now, but it really got a big push with the whole lockdown thing. An interesting thing there, Amanda, is that on the last podcast we had Ruan on the pod, who is a working father, and that's really his mindset and his business. And you are really focusing on mothers, young mothers, I think. So what is it exactly what you are? What do you want to achieve there? What are you trying to get across?
I think for mums in particular, I think for me, it's just letting them know that it's okay that they can have the whole picture. I think with mums, sometimes there's this kind of level of guilt that if you're going to be an awesome mum, you have to just focus on your kids. Or if you're going to be a working mum, you have to just focus on your work and accept that. And I don't really like that. I kind of live in this limbo land in between that I'm with my kids a lot because I home educate full time. But I also love my own work. And I think that it's okay to feel like that you want to do stuff for yourself and you want to be a mum. But also just to help mums out, especially at the moment, because a lot of the conversations that I've been having, especially with new mums, is like mindfulness, everything, it's fantastic, but they're on their own now. And I can't imagine having my first baby and just being stuck at home and not going to all your groups and having that lifeline. So I think my business at the moment, I've pivoted slightly to try and just do stuff to connect and help mums that are feeling very alone as well. That's just very much kind of quite recently, because I'm just having conversations with people like on Instagram and online, but also random mums I might just meet and we'll illegally talk in the playground at the moment, from 2 meters apart. But that is something I've noticed is really problematic at the moment for young mums and first-time mums. It's a real issue. So I'm trying to just focus a little bit on that as well at the moment. That's quite new.
Good one.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's interesting that because why should it have to be mutually exclusive? We're in 2021 now, isn't it? Why can't a working mom be both?
Yeah, completely. And there is a guilt associated. And it's not just, I think it's women actually that unfortunately, bring this discussion up a bit more. Like, I don't really like getting into it too much online because there is a definite thing between working mums and stay-at-home mums. And
there's two sides of that coin, is there?
Yeah, I don't like it at all. And I definitely sit somewhere in the middle. So I don't know, it's hard to discuss it, but I just want to be a bit of a beacon for mums who do sit in the middle like me and they want to do both, and to show that you might not be able to do the traditional kind of 9-to-5 job the same, but there's plenty of other options to work now. It's still about choices. Like, you have to give up at night, you maybe not get so much time on Netflix, and you have to manage your time differently, but there is options there definitely, and that's mainly what my business has been around.
Oh, I love that because it is actually something that has been quite a conversation within my family, because my mom literally, when she got, my older brother is 3 years older, she quit her job. But for the past 40 years, we've been talking about, like, what if she didn't quit her job? Because she had a career that was really going somewhere. But back in the days, of course, it was just simple. There was only one thing. You get a child, you quit your job. And it was just such a traditional way of doing things. And I love that you see opportunities now, because I still see a lot of my friends that still do that old-fashioned way of getting a first child, Mom quits the job, stays at home, and Dad makes sure there's enough money and food on the table.
It has been how my family has been. Aidy's been the kind of main earner. My money has just been sort of a fun money, as we call it, for holidays and things. But for me personally also, I'm really future protecting myself, because I've seen from the generations above me and my family that my mum and aunts and things that did give up work and the life was just their kids. But then when the kids fly the nest, they're just left floating, and then there's struggles, 20 years down the line, which I think, well, I don't want to be in that boat either. So that was one of my other motivations, was future protecting my mental health for 20 years time, if that makes sense at all.
Absolutely. I fully agree, because that was one of the reasons why I had that conversation with my mom, basically, is because after what was it, 12 years, when I was 12, my dad left. And then my mom couldn't get a new job because she's been out of the business for 15 years in total, 15. And so you can't really get back on the market. And so then the struggle began.
Yeah, and as we all know now, the journey we've been on the last year is that the internet has changed everything, isn't it? Like, whatever situation you're in, especially now we're all at home, you can actually create a business and create a second income for yourself, isn't it? It's a really unique time, an amazing time, really, especially for somebody who is, like you say, at home all the time, a mum or even a dad at home.
Yeah.
There are other options out there. Now, it's not easy. It's what we talked about with Iran. It's not easy, and it takes a lot of. You basically have to retrain yourself. That's the way you have to look at it, isn't it? Retrain yourself from the start. You can't expect instant results, and you've got to be patient. But there's amazing possibilities available now, isn't there? As you know.
And I think for me, the biggest thing was just stepping onto the path. Like, I didn't really know what this was going to lead me to. I literally just came into this thinking, I don't want to be a massage therapist forever. That's the work that I do. The income's so up and down, and it has a lifespan that I need to do something else. But I really like the idea. I know people make money from blogging and stuff. I just don't fully understand how. I've been searching for probably close to 10 years on how people do this. And then when I just found this training, it just clicked with me initially, and I didn't really know what I was going to do and how it was going to become a business. I just stepped onto the path. And then, as we all know, it all just comes to light when you're on that path, but you have to get onto it first. I think that's the most important thing, is just taking that step, getting onto the path, being totally open, and just seeing what comes to light when you're on it. And that's how I've worked, really. And it's only very recently that it's really become quite clear of what I want to do and how I can help people. And yeah, but it's good. I love it. I really love it. It is a long process, definitely a long process, but I love my work now. I won't change it. This is what I want to do for good.
Yes, so. You found your path. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to let it evolve, don't you? You can't really have too rigid an idea of how it's going to go, because it's just changes so much. In the last 3 months, mine has completely changed from what I thought it was going to do.
Yeah.
And it just really depends on your influences and just where I think you need to be just open to what feels right. This is one thing I'm not doing now, is not so much setting the goals and the plans and the targets. It really is just about being more in the moment.
Yeah.
Just going with what feels right, and not rushing it. Because I think there is a tendency early on to just go, I want this new life as quickly as possible, and just, throw all my money at it, all my time at it. And I've spoken to someone else about this recently, is that, she was feeling very kind of stressed out all the time and guilty because she wasn't putting enough time in. And she had a bit of a breakthrough on this event I went through, where she was just like, you know what, there's no rush with this. It just happens in its own time. And you don't need to feel like you're working all the hours that God sends, to make this happen. It really does need to be. Why should you have to sacrifice the present for the future? You still got to enjoy the present, haven't you?
Well, that's a beautiful saying.
Yeah, it's really good. And I've definitely experienced that myself last 2-3 months, where I felt guilty all the time that I wasn't putting enough hours in, in the evenings, weekends. But then, like I said, I was sacrificing other things in the present with my kids, my wife, because I wouldn't see them, because I'd be working all day and then working in the evenings and the weekends. So that's something, the lesson I've had to learn. I took my foot off the gas, and so now I do as and when I can fit it in. And like I said, if it's going to take me longer, it's taking me longer. You're still doing stuff here and there. Yeah. You're still putting one foot in front of the other.
Yes. I'm
definitely more at ease with that now, and less self-guilt.
I did yesterday on Instagram was the one that I've got the best kind of engagement for months and months, and it was literally just, if it costs your peace, it costs too much. And I've really been trying to work from this mindset. That's my thing for this year, that the moment I feel like I'm being pulled into too much stress and just getting too exhausted, too busy, not, getting more snappy with the kids. I think, right, I just step back. That's it. I step back for a while and just leave it. And you will move slower, you're taking more breaks, but I'm not willing to give up kind of you, because you do need, I think right now, you really didn't need to hang on to your peace, and you've got to hang on to your mental health in particular. So yeah, that's how I'm working from, basically coming from just a place of peace for us. And you can tell in yourself when things are just not in balance. So it means every couple of days I'm having to step off. So it means you are going a lot slower, but I think that's necessary right now. I don't think rush is the way for us, mentally to be really working right now.
No.
Fully agree on that. Fully agree. I had this really strange thing, and of course for me as a freelancer, it's always been quite difficult to get work in, and especially now with the lockdown and everything, it's what is going to happen? I don't know. But the other day I got a job offer as a freelance job, and it just gave me so much stress. It was just not the right company, not the right boss, and just stressy, kind of capitalistic kind of boss who was only talking about money. And I just said, no, I'm not going to do this job, which was quite strange, because I don't think I've rejected a job in years, because you need the money. But nowadays I got this feeling so if I had taken that job, then that is what I've been doing for a month or 2 months. I will get my money, but I would have been busy and concentrated on that. But if I reject this job, another job will come in. And guess what? The next day, another job came in. And I could take that job, which was a really nice and relaxed job. And so I've really started to believe in the universe providing you with the right things. And everything that gives me stress, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. It's not,
This is it.
Keep that inner balance, yeah.
I think that what I'm really going by now is that if it feels forced, then you're out of alignment.
Yeah.
Like you're just saying then, I think so many people, and I used to do this included, is to take decisions from a place of lack, like trying to find safety, or just making decisions like that just because of the money. And often then you start following a path that is out of alignment with you, just because you're trying to make money, just because you're trying to feel safe, rather than taking your time, waiting for that right opportunity that really does feel right, and just staying on that path of alignment that is right for you.
And there's a second thing, and we talked about this before, is wealth and how you adapt your lifestyle to the money that you have, right? And we talked about it when I made a lot of money, I was living a rich lifestyle, but now I choose. So if I say no to a job, I would maybe have less money. Well, I'll eat on the corner of the street, right? We got all those nice little street vendors going on, and so my life my life standards will be a little bit lower, but at least I don't have stress.
Yes.
And I'd rather have that. I'd rather be happy with just a normal, simple life. And of course, this is something I've learned from traveling and living here, being happy with just small things and everything is good, instead of having a lot of stress and maybe some fancy toys or like a drone or a new TV. You know what I mean? And then I'm stressed with that, and then I need the TV to de-stress for my stress.
No, totally agree.
I'd rather be just relaxed and take it down a notch.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's almost part of society's programming, especially over here, is that money equals happiness, and the more money you've got, the happier you're going to be. But I think there's even studies that beyond a certain amount, in terms of salary, I think it might be something like $60,000 they worked it out. It doesn't make you any happier, money. Like if you can make enough to just cover your lifestyle, basic lifestyle, beyond that, money's not really going to help that much. So it really is, I think for most of us, it's about really just having that income that replaces the 9 to 5 or, the equivalent of what we're doing. And that's it really. It's not about being a millionaire, is it?
To take that, to go back to a little bit to the beginning, is that the moment when you went back to the UK, Amanda, you got in a difficult mindset. Do you know what it was?
A number of things, Casper. I think primarily I just didn't want to go back to the UK. I wasn't leaving Australia because I disliked it. I was leaving it because I felt like that's the thing I should do to be near family. So my head was not happy when I got on the plane. I think that was the biggest problem. I didn't realize, but I had prenatal depression, which I didn't know was a thing until afterwards, which I just thought I was really miserable moving back to the UK, middle of winter from Byron, but I didn't know I had prenatal depression as well. So we'd been through a lot of struggles to get pregnant with Ashton, my second child, for years, and we ended up using IVF, which again, that was just lots and lots of stress and hormones and stuff for a couple of years. So there was just a lot of things. And then we got home and my uncle got really poorly and had a stroke and unfortunately passed away. So there was just a ton of stuff that sort of happened within a short space of time. But I think it did mainly come from my mindset, because I had a lot of resentment towards my family, because I thought, I don't want to go back to England. I'm really happy in Australia, but I'm coming back for you guys. And it just started off from that, and then it just snowballed because I let all of that stuff really take over my head. And I was just really miserable, really unhappy, not nice to be around at all. I wasn't a pleasant person, to be honest, for a while.
One of the reasons I ask is because I as you know, I went back to Holland quite often, but for some reason, in the beginning I could stay for 6 months, then I could stay for 4 months, 2 months. I think if I go back now, especially with lockdown, I can only stay for 1 day and I have to fly back here. But I never really fully understood why I was getting stressed or depressed when I went back.
Okay.
Because it's quite difficult to see like the external factors of what was going on, but it's a feeling was just inside me, whether it's like an energy field or I don't know. And that's why I'm asking. Do you have you got any? Well, next to the fact that you've got like all these things with your family, so how are you feeling now? How are you feeling?
Now I'm doing really well, to be honest. It's been like, it was a good 2, maybe 3 years, because I don't know if you want me to go into it or not, but I was very poorly when Ashton was born. So that, it was a really difficult, I had a thing called postpartum psychosis when he was born. So I was really, really sick and kind of had to be in hospital for a little while. And then went into really severe postnatal depression, and it lasted for close to 2 years. I was just, I can't really remember a lot of that time, to be honest. I was just a grey zombie for a lot of the time. So it was a real big uphill struggle for me. But then I found running, which why I talk about running so much, because I'd been through this for years and I'd kind of come in and out of it, but I was never really getting anywhere. I had horrendous insomnia. I was living on like 2 or 3 hours sleep a night. And I just got so sick of being in this cycle of being really unhappy, hating life, even though I love life because I love my kids, but I just hated life because I hated being stuck in this head and I couldn't see a way out of it. Not sleeping, which was killing me for like years. I still don't sleep great now, but it's better than it was. So I just thought, I really need to do something. I've got to do something. People talk about running for mental health, and I just joined my club literally in the middle of winter. And from that day on, that was really the catalyst for me to change my life, because running is just, it has changed. Yeah. I was on medication as well, which I've recently just about come off, not quite there yet. But running changed my life. It really has. So I'm really dedicated to my running now. And then because the running helped me just to quiet things down a bit and have a bit of control, then I could go back to trying to do my meditation and all the other stuff, like lots of different kind of steps, meditation and the CBT work. And it's just from there, it's been like, quite big jumps actually.
That's great to hear, Amanda.
And then, yes, I found the training and started to do the education and all the mindset work with that, which was definitely a missing piece of the puzzle for me. because the running kind of gave me control of my head back and it calmed me down. But it didn't deal with all these kind of ideas that I had in my head for so long about myself and the words I used to call myself. And that's what the training's really done, and the mindset work to get me to this point. And right now, I'm really good. And when you were talking about people struggling at the moment, I know for a fact if I had not done all of this work over the last several years, I would be a mess right now in the middle of this. But I'm not. I'm actually supporting friends of mine who have been, amazing mentally, who are going through a really hard time. Which is kind of weird for me because I'm the one that traditionally should be in all this stuff. I'm like supporting a lot of other people. So no, at the moment I feel really good. Actually.
Yeah. I think you said two things there that are amazing. Like, first of all, we never talked about this before in the podcast, but it's like running is absolutely one of the a great way to get out of depression or out of mindset. And for me, it's you can even get like a runner's high, that kind of stuff, and it really helps you with your creating of your endorphins and dopamines and all that kind of stuff. And for me, one funny thing I used to do, and I should pick it up as well now you say this, is I used to play like what we talked about before, like headspace or meditation kind of thing while running.
Oh yeah.
Or like Tibetan music. and like I love the combination of those two. And so it really becomes a meditation and a healing process when you go running.
Yes.
And it goes much deeper than, like, runner's high definitely exists. Like, you have to do, for me, a certain length of run to experience that. But it's not just the runner's high. It's all the other things that definitely helps you to sleep. It makes you feel really good about yourself, because when you go out, and I first went on my first club run and I did like 2.5 miles, which is now is nothing. We think, oh, I've just run 2 miles, and then you quickly jump up, and then you're suddenly doing 5 miles, and then 2 months later I'm running 10 miles on a Sunday, and your confidence with that. Like, I've never had such good confidence in my life than when I've like first did my first 10-mile run, and then you complete your first half marathon. And for someone who's always had super low confidence, for me, it was just fantastic. And there's other things to it as well. Like, I feel when you're running, I'm part of Run and Talk, which is kind of a mental health initiative here in the UK, and I kind of help out a bit on that. And people just open up so much more when you're running. Like, if you sit down and have a coffee with someone face to face, it's quite awkward to have these conversations. Whereas when you're running in stride with someone for hours, people just talk. Like, even men, I've had really amazing conversations with men who are going through stuff. And I just find that conversation just flows really easily. You get stuff out of your head. So it's powerful on so many levels. I'm like completely passionate about it, but it is, if you're struggling in that way, I just suggest, even if you think that you're not that good at running, just go out and do 10 minutes, like just start somewhere, because it really can change your life. I believe that strongly.
Start off with walking,
Exercise, yeah.
But you just said I had it once. When I was really into running. I stopped lately because it's quite hilly over here. It's quite heavy to run over here. But I can still do that, and I should do that. But I remember that when I was running from the village where I was born in, which is a tiny little village, surrounded by meadows, but we had like quite a big church. And when I was like an hour away, 10K or something like that, I saw this tiny little church on the horizon. And I was like, wow, I went so far. How did I get so far away from my home, basically? And like you say, it makes you, it changes, it made me proud. It made me really proud. It's like, I did this. I could have taken the car, but I did this,
Yeah, running's such a, because for me, it's been a lot in my recent history as well. Since having kids, it's like say confidence boost. Like I'm not a massive build, but I'm not a long distance runner type. But I'm not no Mo Farah. You know what I mean? I'm
really?
Sort of 15 odd stone. I've got quite big legs, and I am not your typical long distance runner. But it was something my friends got me into in sort of my mid 30s, and started doing mud running and obstacle course running, and then I did that for 2-3 years, and then got the bug and started doing road running and doing sort of 5K, 10K events, half marathons, and I got to the point that, like I say, your confidence gets better, your energy levels, your sleep, just the quality of life improves completely holistically, doesn't it? Mentally and physically.
Like, it really does. If you're feeling tired and you can get out there, even if I've only had a few hours sleep, I'll still go out for a run, and I'll always feel better afterwards. I always get energy.
Yeah, 100%.
Coffee or anything ever has done, like running will give me energy.
Yeah,
yes. People think it's sort of counterintuitive. Oh, well, if I've not got no energy now, how is running going to give me? But it's true. It's totally true. It just gets your energy system sort of purring, and you feel fantastic for the day. I've been out for a run this morning. Got up, got changed, went straight out before work, and now I've started the day mentally and physically more alert, more on it. Even though sometimes you don't want it. It's January in the UK, so obviously the weather's not fantastic, but I actually quite like that, to be honest. I like the cold. I sweat a lot the best of times, so running in the summer heat is not. I don't particularly always enjoy that. And I remember doing when I got to the point where I trained my first marathon. I started on Boxing Day. I printed off my program, my 16-week program. I was doing the Brighton Marathon in like middle of April. So there was a brand new trainers for Christmas Day. Took them out on the first day on the Boxing Day. I thought that's it. And it improves your mental discipline as well. It just does wonders all around for you, and then, like you say, having that achievement and that sort of feeling that you've done something, and that the wonders it does for your self-belief. Like, actually, I never thought, if someone had told me 10 years ago I'd have run a marathon, just one, I'd have laughed in their face, thinking, "You're joking! I can't run 5 minutes down the road without gassing." So the fact I've managed to do 3 marathons now. It's something I'll always be immensely proud of. And I said to people now, I could never run a marathon. Look at me. If I can run a marathon, anyone can run a marathon. You know what I mean? I'm physical proof that it's running's for
everyone and anyone.
Yeah, for me, I mean, managing mental health is something that I've talked about on here and something that I have to do on a daily basis. And routine for me is the big one. Like whether it's running, which I try and do a couple of times a week, walking. I go to the forest near us, walking nature. I find that incredible just to rebalance the mind. Cold showers in the morning. I don't know if you follow that whole Wim Hof method, but that is brilliant as well.
Yeah, that's actually a really funny one because you were always talking about cold showers in the morning. I don't even have a hot shower.
It's hot there though, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't. I don't have like a boiler and everyone's like, "Ooh, I'm going to take Wim Hof method." No, it's Indonesian method. It's the only thing we can do here.
Yeah,
shower in Indonesia.
Just a shower. Yeah. Ooh,
well, there is
Hof
breathing
method.
that goes, particular breathing goes with it. But the cold in itself is fantastic.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of breathing with it because you're just freezing, hyperventilating. That's what it is.
But I mean, generally for me, it comes down to routine, like the meditation, yoga, and the diet as well.
Yeah.
And so I think if you can get in a good routine, like you find that the mind kind of really just goes along for the ride. Like it becomes natural as brushing your teeth, this kind of stuff that's very good for your mental health. And, you know, there's going to be times when you fall out of it a little bit, but it's just about getting back on again, slowly building it back up. And for me, it's that routine, like whatever you do, that is crucial. If you can just have that and just stick with it every day. Because as you said earlier, Amanda, like I love the way you're so open to sharing that kind of stuff. I think it's fantastic the way people are doing more of this now. It can be like a bit of a slippery slope, like a snowball effect, can't it? Like you have a couple of days off it, you have a couple of days where you eat a bit of rubbish food, you don't run, and then all of a sudden the mind starts gaining a bit of a grip again, you know, all these kind of darker stuff. So yeah, I think my point is that I think it has to be like a daily effort, doesn't it, to keep this positive momentum going rather than slipping back.
The power of habit, though, isn't it? I talked to a lot of my clients about this when they say, because I went out running this morning and it was miserable. It was misty and foggy. It was -1 degrees, and I actually really didn't want to go. I had to force myself, but because it's your habit, like those thoughts come up in my head, and I'm like, no, it's what you do. Just get out there. And I went, and I was fine. I did my little run, and it was fine. But I think a habit is a really, really powerful thing. Once you can get into the habit of, like, when I get up in the morning, I stick Paw Patrol or something on for the boys, and I do a little meditation, have my water, and then I do exercise at some point in the day. It just depends on AD's shifts, but you just have to create habits. I do talk about this quite a lot, that your life is built of habits, and you can just choose bad ones and you can choose good ones. You don't have to be perfect all the time. I don't eat a perfect diet, you know, but I think that your habits generally need to be good ones, and you have to put work into creating those habits. But once you've got them, they're on your side and things are just not so hard. Whereas I've got friends who might do a big run once a week or once every other week, and it's just so much harder than just having these little habits. It's harder to stick to. So I've tried to create good habits now, and I've got my own little formula for good mental health that I've kind of created in the last few years, and I stick to that. I have some flexibility. I don't believe in being super rigid as well. I think if you do that, you're just going to fail and you'll feel guilty and it'll all just snowball. So I like the kind of 80-20, you know, with anything, with eating, with exercise, with whatever you do. I try and stick to that, because I don't think being perfect all the time is a good thing at all. There's no such thing anyway as perfection. But just having a bit of flexibility, but having your life built on the habits that make you feel good, I think that's super powerful and what I aim for.
Yeah, I fully agree on that. It's a really interesting thing we talked about before, and I always try to do it in my teachings or the conversation that I have with people, is that what I realize is that what we talk about here as well is like having those guilty feelings, right? So when you feel guilty for not doing the right thing, and one of the weird things is that when people start to get into a positive spiral, creating habits or to-do lists, in a moment when they fail on one of their items on their to-do list, they start feeling guilty again. And so basically, instead of creating this positive to-do list, they fall backwards. Whether you do like 10 things right and 1 thing wrong, oh no, I did 1 thing wrong. Yeah, you did 9 things right. So you need to have that margin within it.
You do. And I think for mums in particular, like guilt is a huge thing, and something you need to be mindful of.
Absolutely.
Since I've moved to like home education, I'm really working on trying to be a more peaceful parent, because it does get fraught sometimes. You know, I'm just with the kids all the time now, and it's quite exhausting. I work a lot on kind of peaceful parenting, but obviously you're going to have some days where it just goes wrong, and you just have to accept that and just think, well, this is what happened. Think about it and then just move on. Just don't hang on to it, because guilt can eat you up.
Yeah. Have you got any tips on that, Amanda? Because I'm having to do a bit of homeschooling at the moment, and it's it feels like spinning plates. I'm trying to work and trying to do 6-year-old maths and English and phonics, and it's like
You try to do 6-year-old math.
Yeah, and I can't do it, so Grace has to show me.
Yeah. Who's homeschooling who now?
Oh, exactly. It's not easy. So kudos to you, Amanda, for juggling all what you do. I've said to this many a times. I'm always super impressed with how you manage and juggle what you do in your busy life. Full-time home education for your 2 boys I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm putting my hands together and saying, wow, you're definitely a super mum in my eyes.
I love my life, to be honest. I enjoy it.
I love it.
And if people could see your face, it's clear that you radiate that, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because you said that before. You said I was hating life and I was loving life, and this is always the thing that's so complex. We talked about before. Is as many of you know, I have been suicidal, and the weirdest thing that I realized there is I want to jump off a bridge, not to die, but to be alive. And it was just a really strange thing on how depression was actually loving life. I love life so much, and but I can't feel it or see it. So I love that you now managed to get into that positive moment of loving life.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It is. It's just like you say, a contradiction, because at the time when I was the most, really, really poorly, I was on suicide watch for several months. My mum had to literally live in the house with me, couldn't leave me at all. She stayed here. And she'd just gone through cancer, so it was like she's amazing, to be honest. But and people would say, well, do you want to die? I'm like, I don't want to die. I love my life, but I just don't want to live in this head. I can't live in this head any longer. And it was such a bizarre, and then some days I'd feel okay, and you're like, this is ridiculous. Why do you feel like this? But then it would come back, and I just wanted to get it out of my head. I kept going to sleep at night thinking, please wake up someone else tomorrow, because I loved my life. I knew I was blessed. That's the other thing. Guilt comes in because I know I've got an amazing life. I've got a great husband, lovely kids, good family. We're well off enough to be, we're not rich, but we're comfortable enough. So I've got nothing in theory to be unhappy about, but my head was just killing me. I just couldn't live in it anymore. So and I'm brilliant now, and I'm not in that headspace, but just to feel torn like that and then feel guilty for feeling like that just compounded it all. So it's tough.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing, because what happened here is with a friend of mine. Her husband passed away, so she's a single mom of 2 kids, and she has a lot of trouble with those kids, and the kids are quite troublesome as well. They are really rascals, but she always comes up to me asking for parenting advice. And a lot of people come up to me for parenting advice, although I'm the only not parent here on the island. But the thing, 99% of the time, what I say is just leave them alone, or just stop. It sounds a bit strange, but stop caring, because she always was just going way too soft on the kids, and therefore she created guilt the moment when something went wrong. And now, in the past year, things completely changed, because now the kids got freedom, they're running around and doing what they want, and she just goes somewhere else and says, screw you kids, I'm going to the beach, I'm going to drink a beer. You sort yourself out. And the kids actually go, in the beginning it was all difficult, but now they go, what? So I can take my bike and I get my surfboard and I can go? Yes, you can. You're old enough, you know how to cross the road. And so, that guilt was created within her as well from care. And that is, of course, really nice. And of course, it's really good that you can, all that. But it's a really strange, vicious circle.
Yeah, I think this is what you realize with awareness that builds up with mindfulness and meditation. It's like how to deal with those feelings. I think there's a tendency, we're not taught how to deal with these feelings first off in the West from school. And I think we try and think our way out of it. And this is where we can get tangled up. But certainly what I've learned in my time with, meditating is that if you can drop your awareness into your system, into your body, then you can feel the emotion, let it pass, and not get caught up in the thinking mind, Because I think when we try to approach things, trying to reframe our thinking, trying to think positive, that kind of thing, we can just get tied up in knots. Do you know what I mean? If you can drop your awareness into your body, you're immediately back in control. You're back in awareness, and you can let it pass. That was huge for me when I first started struggling with mental health. Learning how to do that, like that, enabled me to always have some control of what was going on in my mind.
Great one. Fully agree.
Learning how to like observe thoughts as well. I've had to do that a lot. That I had issues with OCD as well at the time, and when the thoughts would get kind of really chaotic, I just had to really learn to, not try and force them out. Just say, well, they're here, so you're here, and I can see you, and I'm looking you in the face. And then once you kind of had to explain this to a friend the other day, when you kind of try and push them away, they'll just get bigger and they'll just get more scary. Whereas if you can just turn to face it and say, okay, I see you, it just shrinks down. It takes a while to get into that head, but that really made a huge difference for me, learning how to just observe a thought and realize that the thought's just a thought and it's not real, it's not you. And just observe it and turn and look at it in the face, and it just eventually it will shrink and be less scary. But that can be scary, it can be scary to observe and accept some of your most intense thoughts. But that was, for me, was a big mindful kind of stepping.
You're absolutely right. The funny thing what you say is that it can be really scary to accept your most intense thoughts. But just before you said, a thought is just a thought and not you. And so that's where the trick is. Yeah. That's absolutely, because...
You say this all the time, don't you, Mark? You are not your thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah, Mark is really good at that. And it's this funny thing, and I don't know if we talked about this before, but there's this really funny thing. It's like when you sometimes have this thought or like an urge kind of doing something that is completely ridiculous, or a thought that is completely ridiculous. And I was chatting with some friends about this the other day, and everyone was like, what are you talking about? And an hour later, my friend started laughing, and she said, I know what you mean now, because we were just sitting, having a beer next to the swimming pool, and there was this cat walking, and she had this sudden urge to push the cat into the swimming pool.
For no reason.
So then you got this really strange thing like, no, you can't do that. You got a really strange inner dialogue of, you have this thought, and why do you have this thought? It doesn't make sense at all. And we all have this. We all have like something. A friend of mine, when I said this, he said like, yeah, I always have that when I see a waiter with like a lot of glasses or something. I just want to smack it up. You don't do it, but my first thought is, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. And then you get like a really strange inner dialogue of going like, no, you can't do that. Yeah, but it would be fun. And so that is, I think, when you start to realize those thoughts, you start to get like a better balance within your inner dialogue of, because you start to talk with the different voices within your head, basically. And actually, thinking those things can still be fun. So you don't have to do the action. You can just think about it and go, that's what I'm gonna do. So you do it in your head already. And then you get a lot of fun within yourself about all kinds of stupid things that are not even happening, but you get a quite good balance in your head, I think.
Well, this is the thing. We're all made up of infinite parts. This is the whole thing with parts work, isn't it? There's all parts of us from different shades, from light to dark, and a lot of these parts go back to childhood, like you're talking about there, little kid parts that just want to mess things up, or very dark parts that want to cause harm. And I think self-love really is about just acceptance of that. I mean, there might be parts that we hear that we're ashamed of. Oh, that's not me. I don't think like that. But we're all human. We've all got all of these different parts, and some of them, they're not particularly pleasant. Some of them we'd rather not have. But it's just acceptance of the whole being. Yeah,
and acceptance of the difference between thinking it and doing the action. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like we all got like a dark inner self, and or like you say, with shame and all those kind of things. But what do you actually do? Right? So I know a lot of people that I want to get a sniper rifle and shoot them down, but I'm not doing it.
You're not going to do it.
No, well, of course I don't do it. I give them a flower. So my actions are different than my feelings, but my actions are the right actions. And so the inner dialogue is just an inner dialogue, and nothing more than that. As long as my actions are all right, and everyone, I just give love. Yeah, I think that's a big difference.
Yes, and that comes with awareness, I think, just kind of, because until you've got that awareness, you really are going with whatever parts on the mic at that time. That's the kind of way that I look at it. We've got all these parts and they kind of pass the mic around, and it's up to you to decide who stays on the mic. who do you give the most mic time to? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've got a question. So you've told us it's up to the present day now, Amanda. So where do you want to be in sort of 5 years' time or like that?
Definitely not
In business, emotionally, location-wise, geographically speaking, where do you see yourself in sort of?
So that's 5 questions in one. Good luck.
Go.
Yeah, that's a lot to answer.
Sorry, Amanda.
Okay. This year in particular, I just want to really continue with what I'm doing. I really want to get my head around this kind of new way of working because it is very new for me. So just really keep committing to my business. I am going to be creating my own podcast actually, which is quite exciting, which I'm going to launch in a couple of months.
Can we be on it? Can we be on it?
Yeah, we'll be on it.
Yes, you can all be on it. Listen will be on it.
Yay.
All of us.
So you're cold. Okay, come for a hug. Sorry, kids are back. So I want to create a podcast. You are cold. You're freezing on your bike. And just carry on just learning about this because it is new to me, this whole digital space. So I am definitely doing the kind of slow route. I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying the work I'm doing. So just carry on learning, get my podcast up and running. And then we are hoping to do something in a couple of years. Okay, darling. We want to maybe we want to do some travel with the kids. Like we're thinking about buying an old canal boat and converting it and just living, once my business is up and running and we can do that.
Oh, brilliant.
But because we home educate, we've got this freedom now. So maybe do a year on a canal boat or a year in Spain somewhere, just do something different. And then after that, I don't know, after 5 years, but you're so cold. Sorry, I've got a freezing child here on my lap now. But that's okay.
That's the theme of this podcast, Amanda. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
He's freezing. It's okay. He's been out bike riding and he's cold.
Didn't ever have an episode without the child in the background.
Yeah. But that's it really for me for the next few years. Just keep business building, keep working on myself. Definitely helping. I've started to do I'm setting up my own run for mums on once we can do group runs again. So I'm going to be setting up a mum like the run and talk group. So I'll be leading some runs and just carrying on from there.
He's called August. I'm called Ashton.
He's called August and Ashton.
I want a camera.
Ashton.
I can't see a camera.
Yeah.
Guys, you want some lunch?
Sorry, I'm probably going to have to go in a minute. My hour's up, I think. Sorry about that.
We can draw a
sorry.
line.
I know.
But that's actually a really good way to finish.
With the kids.
Like with the kids and the family life. It just shows family life, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this is life in like small snippets is how I have to work basically. It's one thing I've really had to learn is learning how to be like, I'm really trying to work on focus and not loads of planning because that's not so much how I work. I try and plan the kind of few weeks ahead, but I can't do these like quarter planning things. It doesn't work at all for me. But just when I've got the time that I've got, I have to be really, really focused because I felt initially I was like, I do a bit on Instagram and I do a bit at your blog and then you do a bit of this and I was just all over the place and not getting anywhere. So now I'm really working on just being very focused and if you've got that hour or that 2 hours, this is what I'm going to do and not get distracted, like phones off. And yeah, it's important. Focus is really important. When you've got just short snippets of time to work in, focus.
You be where you are.
You did exactly that. We had 1 full hour with complete focus.
Yeah. I love that.
Sorry.
Yeah, I say that is perfect ending because then it shows that this is life, isn't it? You know, and being a mum, this is what being a mum is.
Definitely.
You know, you don't always have time to yourself.
Definitely.
Absolutely,
Awesome.
yeah.
No, this is
But
it.
thank
really.
you, Amanda. That was fantastic.
No, thank you. You're
Yeah,
welcome.
really appreciate your time. Thank you, Amanda.
Fantastic. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thanks so much.
We'll hopefully have you again on in the future and see you, check on your progress.
I'll have you on my podcast in the future.
And we'll come on yours.
Oh.
We'll go deep. We'll go deep in there.
Yeah. Oh no, we're gonna battle.
Love it.
Awesome. Thank you so
Great
much.
stuff.
Thank you, Amanda.
So, yes.
Great stuff.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
And we'll be back very soon. Adios.
Adios.
Adios, amigos.
Adios, amigos.
Amiga.
Amiga.
You have been listening to
Free Amigos.
Hey there, hope you've really enjoyed listening or watching to the conversation today. And as promised, we have all the links to the topics discussed in the description below and also on our website.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to hit that subscribe button or follow the link to our brand new website where you can sign up to our weekly newsletter.
Thank you for watching or listening. We hope you got something good out of it. If you've got any interesting topics you'd like us to discuss or any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch. And that's it. See you in the next pod. Adios.
Cheers.